You know, some of the biggest moments in history don't happen with a grand plan or a heroic charge. Sometimes they happen completely by accident. Today, we're going to unpack the incredible, almost unbelievable story of how one tired politician and one fumbled sentence accidentally brought down the Berlin Wall. This is the shot, right? This is the image everyone remembers. Just pure, absolute joy. You've got people from East and West Berlin climbing on top of this thing that had kept them apart for decades, dancing, hugging, celebrating. It's just an amazing moment of pure freedom.
But here's the crazy part. What if I told you this whole scene wasn't planned at all? That it was the result of a confused, unprepared official making a huge mistake on live television? That's what we're digging into. How history can literally pivot on a single, clumsy sentence.
So our story doesn't start on the streets or with a revolutionary cry. No, it starts in probably the most boring place you can imagine, a routine government press conference in East Berlin. But this one, well, this one was about to get interesting.
And this is our guy, Günter Schabowski. He's a member of the East German Politburo, basically the government's spokesperson. He's the man at the dead center of this story. He's just come from a bunch of long, stressful meetings, and now he has to go face the world's media.
So, right before he goes out there, a colleague literally shoves a 2-page note into his hand. It's about some new temporary travel rules that are supposed to calm people down a bit. But, and this is the most important part, he gets zero briefing, no context, no instructions on what it really means, or, crucially, when it was supposed to start.
And here it is, the moment. It's near the end of the press conference, and a journalist asks, so when does this new rule take effect? Schabowski, he's kind of shuffling through his papers, he looks a little lost, and then he just shrugs and says it. As far as I know, it takes effect immediately without delay. The whole room just explodes.
The media, especially the West German reporters, they didn't waste a second. This bulletin went out at 7:04 p.m., literally minutes after he spoke, blasting the news to the entire world. East Germany's borders are open, immediately. The fuse was officially lit. Now, a mistake like that is a big deal, for sure. But for it to have this kind of impact, you really have to understand the bigger picture. Because East Germany in 1989 wasn't just a country. It was a powder keg, just waiting for a spark.
Just look at what was happening in the months before. The Iron Curtain was already starting to tear open over in Hungary. Thousands were escaping through the West German embassy in Prague. The old hardline leader was forced out. And get this, just 5 days before Schabowski's press conference, 1 million people had marched for change right in East Berlin. The pressure was unbelievable.
And let's be clear about what they were protesting. The Berlin Wall wasn't just a concrete fence. It was a fortress. It had this insane death strip, a no-man's land packed with mines, guard towers, and tripwires, where the guards had orders to shoot anyone who tried to cross.
I mean, just look at this. It's terrifying. You can see the anti-vehicle traps, the tower, that barren strip of land. This whole thing was designed for one purpose and one purpose only, to keep its own people trapped inside, no matter the cost.
So, you've got this perfect storm, right? The government was getting squeezed from every possible direction. People were finding ways to escape, the economy was in a nosedive, and nobody trusted the new leader. The whole country was basically a tinderbox. And Schabowski had just unknowingly tossed a lit match right into the middle of it. So let's see how that one little spark turned into an absolute inferno.
This is how the message got to the people. You see, most East Germans secretly watched West German television. So when the main news anchor on the most popular channel came on and said this, people believed him. To them, this was it. The government said it, the news confirmed it, it was happening.
So what do you think happens when an entire city of people who've been locked up for decades suddenly hear that the gates are open? They go check for themselves. That night, thousands and thousands of East Berliners just poured out of their apartments and headed straight for the wall.
The result was this incredible human wave. People swarmed the checkpoints, like this one at Bornholmerstrasse, demanding that the guards let them through. You could hear them yelling, "Schabowski said we could go."
But imagine being one of those guards. You're completely shocked. You have no new orders. Your bosses are scrambling, but no one up the chain of command is willing to be the guy who gives the order to shoot into a crowd of their own citizens. The entire system just froze.
Okay, so by 10:45 p.m., the situation at the Bornholmer Strasse checkpoint is at a boiling point. The commander, a guy named Harald Jaeger, is staring down thousands of people. He's getting no clear orders from his superiors. He has to make a call.
And so he finally gave the order, open the barrier. And just like that, in a single moment, the death strip became a welcome mat. The most feared border in the world just melted away in a flood of cheering people. The wall was gone.
That one chaotic, incredible night kicked off the process of putting a country back together that had been torn in two for 40 years. The fall of the wall was really just the beginning of the story.
In the days after, the wall became, well, it became a public art project and a souvenir shop. You had people called Mauer Spechte, which means wall peckers, who came with hammers and chisels to break off their own little piece of history.
And after that night, the dominoes just fell one after another super fast. The famous Brandenburg Gate opened before Christmas. They started officially tearing the wall down the next summer. And then, less than a year after Schabowski mumbled his way through that press conference, Germany was one country again.
But, the story of division didn't just magically end there. This is really interesting. These are polls from 2010 and 2019, and they show that a small but noticeable number of Germans actually wish the wall was still there. It's a really powerful reminder that getting rid of the concrete barrier was the easy part. Dealing with the economic and cultural challenges was a whole different story.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. The physical wall is gone, of course. It's just a memory and a tourist attraction now. But the challenge of erasing those walls in the head, of creating a truly unified identity, well, that's a story that's still being written today.